What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you my new digital fashion mockup bundle, which includes full customization for those who want to adjust fabric scale, roughness, ribbing, design intensity, edge wave, vintage look, wash intensity, your buttons, and your zippers. So I've designed this from the ground up for those looking to advertise their product as real as possible, and for those who want to send it to the manufacturer so the manufacturer can see what the garment looks like. Now there's over 50 different garments in this bundle. If we go into our Blender file, you can see here we have our tops. There is 33 different tops and there's 17 different bottoms. I'll also be including my caps, which you can check in this video. There's 4 different caps we've also added that are not in this exact blend file, but you will have the download links for those as well. So you can get all of this for $50, or you can download the individual items that you like specifically for $5. I also want to add that the first 100 people that purchase this bundle, I'll create a free digital garment for you that I'll include an update into this bundle for you. So this can be any garment that you want, but it is limited to the first 100 people. So make sure you get it as soon as possible. So going into the bundle, once you have purchased it off my site, the link will be in the description. The folder structure should look something like this. So we have our blend file, then we have our garments, so we have our tops and our bottoms. So this is kind of what it looks like. I do suggest using the individual Blender files as opposed to the bundle because your render times will be faster. So just going into those individual files, we have our track jacket blend file, then the design file, then the open file. So if you want to mess around in Code 3D, you can do so. But for those who just want to use Blender and don't want to spend any extra money on advertising the product, this is perfect for you. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be using the bundle file, so we can double click on that and you should see something like this. Now on the top right here, we have our tops, then we have our bottoms. In the middle, we have our world environment settings, which is like your lights, the intensity, color, camera, etc. Then we have, under that is our garment customization. And then on the left, we have our garment. So I'm going to go to material preview shader. We will get a preview of this. And I do have place here designs, just so you can get a better understanding of where exactly to place your branding. Now I'm going to go over to my football jersey. And now I'm going to show you how you can update the garment. So we're going to go into this panel over here. We're going to click this X, and this is going to be essentially where you're going to place your design. So let's press X, and we're going to go up to the top here, press File, Clean Up, Purge Unused Data, and hit Delete. Now make sure you do this or else it won't update for you. So now that that's done, we're going to go look for this file. Because we're working with T13 football jersey, we're going to look for that exact file. So let's go to our garments, to our tops, to football jersey, and I'm going to be using Photopea for this. You can use Photoshop, they work exactly the same. And I'm just going to drag and drop this straight into Photopea, and we can press this little layout button over here and we can see where we're going to place everything. Now I have my logo on my desktop, so I'm going to go to desktop and I'm just going to drag and drop this straight in here and place it over here. Then I'm going to hit this R button by layout, and I'm also going to hide all these other places. Then I'm going to go File, Save As, and then you can save this to your desktop or wherever you wish. Then we can go back to Blender, press Open, and look for the file you just saved. So mine is the football jersey. I'm going to hit Open. Just like that, it has been updated. Now, maybe you don't want the ribbing, or maybe you want the scale of the fabric to be bigger, or maybe you even want the design to stick out a bit more. There's quite a bit we can do here. So I'm just going to rotate this. As you can see, every single garment has a 360 rotation that is on loop, so you can render it out and have a cool piece of content for your social media. Going from top to bottom in the garment section, first thing we're going to see is the design intensity. So if we drag this down, you can see that around the edges it becomes a lot smoother, and because the design is very small, when we increase the design intensity, you won't notice it as much. But as you can see around the edges here, it almost looks like it's sticking out a bit. If we zoom in here, you can see it looks like it's got like this bump texture. And if you get rid of that, it looks a lot flatter. So design intensity will do that for you. Now for fabric scale, if we zoom in here, we can see that the stitching of the fabric is very small. If we increase it to 4, you can see it starts to get bigger. And if we get it to 2, even bigger, and 1, even bigger. So you can really customize this as much as you want. I'm going to set mine to 8. Then we have our fabric roughness. So 1 being very rough, and then 0 being extremely reflective. Because the background is black, it's obviously going to become black when it goes to 0. Then we're going to go to ribbing intensity. So maybe you don't want the ribbing at all. You can pump this up to 1 and it will go away completely. If you do want it, bring it down, or maybe you want it in between that. It's up to you. So we're going to keep ours on for this. For ribbing scale, this is if you want thinner ribbing or thicker ribbing, you can adjust it accordingly. I'm going to leave mine as is. Then we have weave color. So you can fully change the color of your weave 1 and 2. Now I do suggest keeping them the same color because you can see the separation in the weaves. So I'm going to put these onto white and you can see it looks a lot better. Then we have our fabric lining. Now this is the inside of the garment. Now it isn't available on all of them. On the V-neck sleeve t-shirt, if we change the color of the lining inside, you can see that it starts to adjust. This is just to create some separation in some of the garments around the edges, because you don't always want to see the designs coming through, or the same fabric essentially. So going back to the football jersey, press 0 to go to your camera. I'm going to set these back to black, and then we have our edgeware. So the edgeware is this little section over here. If we adjust this down, you can see it goes away, and if we increase it up, it becomes a lot stronger. That's totally up to you if you want to have it. It just creates some more realism. Then we have the vintage look. Now I don't suggest pumping this too high. It's just to create a little bit of extra wear on top of your edge wear, because as you can see, it starts getting quite washed. So I'm just going to leave that down for now. Then we have our wash intensity. So this is like if you want to create something different and unique. If you bring this down, you'll see that some patches start coming up. Now I would suggest finding the scale before you change the intensity. So you can make this very high, you can make this very low. Just depends on the look you're going for, and then you can adjust intensity after that. So I'm going to go with something like that. That is your wash intensity and scale. Now in this comment we don't have a button or zipper color, so I'm going to go look for another one for you. Here we have the quilted jacket. So if you click on the button and zipper color, we can change this and everything will adjust as is. Maybe you want it to be less rough, more rough. That's totally up to you. You can change it at the bottom here. Now going back to our football jersey, we then have the sheen, weight and roughness. These also both affect what the garment looks like. And also your color. So obviously if the fabric is black, you won't see that if the sheen is black. So you can play around with that, adjust customization as you wish. Then we have weave bump strength. Now maybe you want the fabric to stick out even more than it already does. We can start to pump this up and you'll see that it looks a lot more detailed. And you can also decrease or increase the noise of the bump as you wish. And that's pretty much all the settings on the design. I'm going to pop in a design I worked on so you can see how cool it can look at the end. And just like that, we have pretty cool design. I'm going to change the color to the color of the branding. Drag and drop that down. And then I'm going to make the fabric scale a bit smaller. And then as you can see, the design intensity is coming through a lot more here. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the lighting and camera setup. So if we go into the top world here, we can activate or deactivate the transparency, which is the background. I like to have mine on. When it is on, you can change the color of the background as well. Maybe you want white, blue, pink, purple, orange, you name it, you can. But just bear in mind that even when it is on transparent, you will still get those colors reflecting through. So it is always best to have it on black, or if you want, keep it black and then do a transparent render and then apply a different color background. For the purpose of the video, we're going to keep it black. Then we're going to go to our top light. Now we can change the color of this. As you can see, it does affect it quite drastically in terms of changing the color of the garment, or at least what it looks like. But we can decrease the intensity if we wish. I'm going to keep mine white and put it back up to 100. Then I want to change the left color to blue and the right color to red. So we have this cool contrasting color look coming through. Then I want to increase the backlight intensity to 100, just so we get this little rim light at the back and on the edges here. Then we have our camera distance. So this is how far you want the camera away from the garment. And then we have our camera lens. So maybe you want to zoom in a bit and then bring the camera out to create some extra depth. You can do that as well. And then we have depth of field. So when this is turned on, you won't notice it off the bat because we have a 5.8 aperture or f-stop. So if we bring this down, you can start to see the sleeve gets a little bit blurry and it just creates a more realistic render. Once you're happy with all of that, we can now start to render it. So if we go to our render settings, which should be open on the right here, max samples depending on your PC, I would suggest anywhere from 150 to 350. High-end PCs, I would definitely suggest anywhere between 250 and 350, and low end, I would definitely suggest 150. Now, once you've set that up, I'm going to set mine to 250. I'm going to go to my output, and then this is your resolution. Now, this is totally up to you. If we want it in 3:4 ratio, we can do 3000 by 4000. If we want it in vertical, we can go 1080 by 1920 and then bring the camera out. You can really change it as much as you want. I'm going to keep mine at 2000 by 2000. And then I want to render a video. So I'm going to go to my output settings here, click this little folder. I'm just going to render to my desktop and call it render1_. And then I'm going to set it to FFmpeg video. And then encoding, I'm going to go H.264 and MP4, click that. And then we can go render animation, and it should start to render. Now, if you want to render it as one frame, you can go render image and it should render the one frame. If you want to render the full rotation as different frames, you can also do that. We can go to PNG and then we can just do render animation and it'll start rendering frame by frame by frame. Whereas the FFmpeg will still render frame by frame, but it'll put it into video at the end once it's complete. If this video was helpful to you, please make sure to drop a like, comment, and sub. Appreciate the support as always. If you did make it to the end, I'm giving 5 people 50% off this bundle, so shout out to you, appreciate it. And don't forget, first 100 people to purchase this get a free garment with it. So make sure to join my Discord if you do want one of those, or drop me an email, or even DM me on Instagram. As always, thank you so much, appreciate the support. I'll see you in the next one, peace.